Let's talk about one of the strangest, most chilling events in all of history, the Dancing Plague of 1518. I mean, this is a true story, and it's a seriously haunting look at just how powerful and terrifying the human mind can be. We're going to break down exactly what went down.
Okay, so picture this. It's the city of Strasbourg, way back in 1518. It's the middle of a blazing hot summer, and times are tough. And I mean really tough. We're talking famine, crushing poverty, and disease already running rampant. The whole city was basically a powder keg of stress and despair, just waiting for a spark.
And then the spark hit. A bizarre sickness started creeping through the city, but it was nothing like the plague or any other illness anyone had ever seen before.
The symptoms were, well, they were completely unheard of. You see, there was no fever, no coughing, none of the usual signs that you were sick. Instead, this thing showed up in a very public and very, very strange way.
Yep, you heard that right. This disease made people dance. Not fun, celebratory dancing. We're talking about an uncontrollable, non-stop compulsion to move, sometimes until their bodies just completely broke down and they died.
So how on earth does something like that even start? You might be surprised to hear it. It all kicked off with just one person.
It all began with a woman known to history as Frau Troffea. One day in July, she walked out into the middle of the street and just started dancing. No music, no party. She just danced and danced and danced for almost a full week, pretty much nonstop.
Now here's where it gets really scary. Within a week, a few dozen other people had joined her. Fast forward just 1 month, and that number had exploded to around 400 people, all dancing uncontrollably through the streets. The city was spiraling into total chaos.
And let me be perfectly clear, this was no festival. Eyewitnesses said the dancers looked like they were in a trance. Many were screaming out in pain. Their feet were torn up and bloody, but they physically could not stop moving. It was a nightmare.
So you have to be wondering, right? What did the city authorities do about this? Well, what they did is a huge part of the story. And, spoiler alert, their big plan was an absolute catastrophe.
I mean, put yourself in their shoes. You've got hundreds of citizens dancing themselves to death. The city's leaders and doctors had to come up with some kind of explanation. So what did the top medical minds of 1518 decide was the problem?
Okay, get ready for this. Their official diagnosis was hot blood. Yeah, and based on the medical theories of the day, they figured the only way to cure hot blood was to sweat it out. Their prescription? More dancing. So they actually built a stage, cleared out a town square, and hired professional musicians to encourage the afflicted to just dance it all out.
As you can probably guess, this whole plan backfired spectacularly. Turning the plague into a public spectacle with a stage and music only made things worse. It was like they were validating the madness, and it just pulled more and more people into the hysterical frenzy.
So obviously, this event was so bizarre that for the last 500 years, historians and scientists have been desperately trying to figure out what really happened. And today, we've got a couple of leading theories.
The most widely accepted theory today is something called mass psychogenic illness. It sounds complicated, but think of it like this. Remember how awful conditions were in Strasbourg? All that intense citywide stress basically created a psychological contagion. The intense anxiety became so overwhelming that it started causing real physical symptoms on a massive scale.
But there might have been a biological element at play too: ergot poisoning. Ergot is a type of fungus that can grow on damp rye, which was a major food source for the poor back then. And guess what ingesting it does? It can cause violent muscle spasms and intense hallucinations. It's totally possible that a batch of bad bread kicked the whole thing off, and then mass hysteria took over and amplified it 1,000 times.
Whatever the exact cause, the final result was absolutely tragic. This constant, frantic motion pushed people's bodies way past their limits. By the time it was all over, dozens were dead, not from a germ, but from strokes, heart attacks, and just pure, unrelenting exhaustion.
The fact that this even happened raises some pretty scary questions, doesn't it? The dancing plague isn't just some weird little footnote in a history book. It's a chilling reminder of the unbelievable power the mind holds over the body.
And maybe the most unsettling part of the whole story is how it ended. Around September, the dancing just stopped. The epidemic faded away almost as suddenly as it had begun, leaving behind a traumatized city in one of history's greatest mysteries. And that's really the bottom line, isn't it?
The dancing plague serves as this powerful, deeply disturbing reminder of how fragile we can be. It's truly one of history's most terrifying examples of how collective stress can literally fracture the human mind, turning what should be a celebration of life into a massacre.